The camera feed loaded slow, like it knew what it was about to show me. 3 figures moved through my kitchen. My kitchen. The one I'd paid for in cash, in secret, under a name that wasn't mine on purpose. My neighbor's voice still echoed in my ear. Strangers are inside. Margot. I saw a car pull into your driveway an hour ago. I zoomed in. My brother Wesley stood by my new stove, arms wide, laughing. His wife was setting a cake on my counter. My niece spun in circles across my hardwood floor, arms out like an airplane. They were celebrating. In my house. My name is Margot Hale. I'm 34 years old, and I spent 6 years hiding this address from the one person who'd taught me that nothing I owned was ever truly mine. I watched Wesley pull a bottle of champagne from a bag he'd brought. He knew the door code. He'd always known the door code, because he installed the smart lock himself, back when I still trusted him with things like that. My thumb hovered over the phone. Then I dialed 911, and I didn't shake at all. The dispatcher asked if this was an emergency. I said yes, then caught myself, because it wasn't the kind she meant. I gave her the address. I gave her my name. I told her there were unauthorized people inside my home, and my voice came out steady, almost bored, like I was reading a grocery list instead of turning my own blood into a police report. Wesley and I grew up sharing a bedroom wall so thin I could hear him breathing. He was the golden one, the one my parents bragged about at church, the one whose failures got rebranded as learning experiences while mine got filed away as warnings. When I inherited our grandmother's ring, he asked to hold on to it for safekeeping. I never saw it again. When I started my consulting firm, he told relatives I was still figuring things out, while quietly asking me for loans he never repaid. I bought this house with money he didn't know I had, using an LLC he couldn't trace, specifically so he'd never again call something of mine ours. On the screen, his daughter blew out candles on a cake shaped like a house. My house. The patrol car was 4 minutes out. I kept watching the feed while I waited, unable to look away, like picking at something that was already bleeding. Wesley pulled out his phone and started filming his wife cutting the cake. He panned the camera slowly across my living room, my bookshelves, my grandmother's old quilt draped over the reading chair I'd found at an estate sale, narrating like a real estate agent showing off a listing. And this, he said, grinning into the lens, is officially the Hale family home. Something in my chest went very cold. Family home. As if my name on the deed meant nothing. As if 6 years of double shifts and skipped vacations and living in a one-bedroom apartment to save for this had all just been Wesley's inheritance, waiting to be claimed. I thought about calling him instead. Screaming at him through the phone. Asking how he even found the address, when I'd told no one, not our parents, not our cousins, not a single soul from that side of the family. Then I remembered the one person I had told. My best friend, Renee, who'd been unusually quiet the past few weeks. The patrol car turned onto my street, lights spinning silent and slow, and my niece stopped mid-spin to stare out the window. The officers didn't rush the door. They walked up with the unhurried calm of men who'd done this 100 times, one hand resting near a belt out of habit, not threat. I watched on my phone as Wesley opened the door before they even knocked, still holding a slice of cake, confusion sliding across his face like weather changing. "Can I help you?" he asked. "We received a call about an authorized entry at this residence," the taller officer said. "Do you own this home?" Wesley laughed, that easy, charming laugh that had gotten him out of speeding tickets and family arguments his whole life. "This is my sister's place. We're just here for a little party. She probably forgot to tell the neighbors." "Is your sister here with you?" "No, she's traveling. But this is basically." "Sir, is your name on the deed?" Silence. Real silence, the kind that has weight. His wife appeared behind him, cake knife still in her hand, her smile collapsing in slow motion as she realized this wasn't a misunderstanding that would resolve itself in 30 seconds. I texted the officer standing outside a photo of my ID and the deed, exactly as I'd rehearsed in my mind 100 times without knowing it. Wesley's phone buzzed in his pocket. It was me, finally, calling him back. He answered on the first ring, his voice pitched high with the particular panic of someone caught mid-performance. "Margot, thank God. Tell these officers this is a misunderstanding. Tell them." "Did you break into my house, Wesley?" "Break in? I have the door code. You gave me the door code." "I gave you the door code 4 years ago, to water my plants for 1 week while I was in Portugal. I changed it the day I got back." The line went quiet except for his breathing, and I could picture his face exactly, that specific expression he got when a lie stopped working in real time. Renee gave me the address, he finally said, softer now, like honesty was something he had to lower his voice for. She said you'd finally understand, once we were all here together. A surprise. For the family. A surprise for the family. As if unlocking my life for people I deliberately locked out was a gift. Put the officer on the phone, I said. I heard my niece crying in the background, the cake abandoned on my counter, and something in me that used to soften at the sound of her voice simply didn't. I gave the officer clear instructions. No charges yet. But everyone needed to leave. Tonight. I didn't go to the house that night. I couldn't trust what my face would do if I saw Wesley in person, so I let the officers handle the exit, watching through the camera as my family filed out one by one. My niece confused, my sister-in-law furious in that quiet, dangerous way of someone embarrassed in public. Wesley last, glancing back at the porch like he still believed this was temporary. I called Renee at 11 p.m. She picked up already crying, which told me she'd known this call was coming since the moment she gave up my address. I thought it would be nice, she said. I thought if he just saw the house, saw what you'd built, he'd finally respect you instead of resent you. I thought I was helping. You gave my location to the one person I specifically hid it from. I didn't think he'd bring a cake and throw a party, Margot, I thought. You didn't think at all. That's the problem. I hung up before she could finish explaining a betrayal I hadn't asked her to justify. The next morning, I drove to the house myself. I stood in my kitchen, staring at cake crumbs still on the counter, and I finally let myself feel something other than calm. I changed every lock in the house by noon. Wesley called 11 times over the following week. I let everyone go to voicemail, listening to them later like reports from a war I'd already decided not to fight with my voice. The first few were apologies, clumsy and rehearsed. By the fifth, they turned defensive, reminding me that family doesn't press charges over cake, that I was making this bigger than it needed to be. By the ninth, he stopped apologizing altogether and started explaining, at length, how hurt he was that I'd built this whole secret life without him. As if hiding from him wasn't the direct result of years spent watching him take things and rename them as shared. I didn't call him back. Instead, I called a lawyer. Not for charges. I'd already told the officers I wouldn't pursue that, a mercy I gave myself more than him. I called about something else entirely, a clause I'd read once and filed away, back when I still believed I might need it someday. A no-contact addendum on my property deed, filed formally, on record, with his name on it specifically. If Wesley ever stepped onto my land again without permission, it wouldn't be a family disagreement anymore. It would be trespassing, on paper, forever. I mailed him the documents myself, no note attached. 6 months passed before I heard from Wesley again, not a call this time, but a letter, actual paper, his handwriting smaller than I remembered. He wrote that he'd finally understood, reading the legal document with his name printed beside the word prohibited. He wrote that our parents had always measured us against each other, and somewhere along the way, he decided the only way to win was to take what I'd built instead of building something of his own. He didn't ask to visit. He didn't ask for forgiveness, either. He asked if I'd consider, someday, letting his daughter see the house, not him, just her, supervised, whenever I felt ready. I sat with that letter for 3 days before I answered. I said yes, on my terms, on my schedule, in my own time. Not because I owed him softness. Because I finally understood something he never had, that boundaries and cruelty aren't the same language, and I could hold both my locked doors and my open hands without contradiction. I kept the deed exactly as it was. I kept the locks exactly as they were. I simply stopped needing him to understand either one.